Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a mini book haul. I recently, if you watched my vlog, I went to my local used bookstore and I took some stuff in and I got a fair amount of store credit, and then I also had a little bit of a gift card from Barnes & Noble left over, so I got one of the books with that. The first book I got, I purchased because of a recommendation from you guys over on Twitter. I asked what are some books that you feel are underhyped, underappreciated, that kind of thing, but that you think are fabulous and need to be talked about more. And one of you admitted that this particular book, The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi, oh, gosh darn it, I told myself I would not butcher that name, but I did and I'm sorry. But anyway, one of you admitted that while this book is getting some attention, you feel that it needs to get more attention. And I rarely do this, but I just went ahead and got it without really knowing too much about it. I normally like to know a little bit more going into books, what they're about. I try to read the synopsis, but I just decided I'm gonna trust this person's recommendation and I'm gonna get it. Plus, I'm going to Ireland soon, and I might bring this with me because the cover is very green and so is Ireland, and I like when things match. The next book I got, I've actually had my eye on for a while because Murphy over from Murphy Napier just loves this book to pieces. She thinks it's fantastic. And I found it on sale at my local used bookstore, and that would be Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard. It sounds interesting. From the way she described it, it's a bit disorienting when you are first starting it, but then all the pieces kind of come together, and it's basically a lot of intrigue and scheming, which sounds really, really cool to me. She has described the magic system as being very unique and not something she's seen a ton of. And it's pretty darn short, which is rare for books that are sold in the adult science fiction fantasy section and can honestly be kind of refreshing, I think. But while we don't always love all the same books, Murphy and I, we like a lot of the same things in books, and so I'm really looking forward to finally owning this one because I've been wanting it for a while, and when I saw it, I was like, I have store credit and it's on sale, I have to get it. The next book I got, I actually remember Jade over at Bedtime Bookworm. She mentioned this as being an anticipated release for this year. She thought it sounded really, really interesting and really fantastic. And then I'd kind of had it in the back of my mind. And then recently on Instagram, I saw somebody post about it and talked about how amazing it was and how the setting is so unapologetically Chinese because it's an Asian setting. And I was just reading through this person's glowing review and they thought it sounded amazing. I already thought the premise sounded really cool, and that would be The Descendant of the Crane by Joan He? I don't know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be that person, but also I think we need to take a second to appreciate how beautiful this cover art is. I know that covers aren't everything, and I think a lot of times people who fancy themselves elite like to look down on people who admire pretty covers, but pretty covers are results of talented individuals being extremely artistic and skilled. And so I think we need to take a second to appreciate that because this cover is stunning. I think it's just so gorgeous. But anyway, this is a murder mystery basically in a fantasy setting. Our main character, when the story starts off, her father has been killed, and so she's trying to figure out who did it. And I think that that sounds very interesting. I guess a lot of court politics kind of unfold throughout the story, and I think it sounds really, really, really fun. And the last book I got, I'm realizing, kind of actually just continues the pattern of all of the books in this haul, which is that they have pretty covers and that they have names that I'm going to say wrong. And that would be Beasts Made of Night by Tochi Onyebuchi. I really, really, really don't like being that person that doesn't know how to say people's names. I feel really bad, and I didn't want to fake my way through it and act like I knew how to say it. I honestly have no idea how to say this, and I'm very, very, very sorry. I'm gonna stop for story time for a second. My friend, one time, somebody told them that they were racist for not knowing how to pronounce the name and that it's their obligation to look up how it's pronounced. But news alert, first off, people can have complicated names no matter what race they are. And second, sometimes people pronounce the same thing differently. So, unless we find an interview of the author pronouncing their name for us. I mean, people for the longest time weren't sure if it was Sarah J. Maas or Sarah J. Moss, or they just didn't know exactly how to say her last name. And she's a white lady. But anyway, so Beasts Made of Night. This is a book that my friend Shoshana had picked up over from Shoshana C, and she was really, really enjoying it up until the end. She just really wasn't a fan of how it ended. And when she was telling me about it though, even though she didn't end up loving it, I still thought the premise sounded fascinating. It's this interesting society where sins kind of manifest and there are people that can pull it out of individuals, and it just sounds really, really interesting. The setup sounds really, really unique. And so even though, like I said, she wasn't a fan of it, I still thought it sounded cool enough that I wanted to give it a try. I know the sequel is out now, and it's pretty darn short, just like, again, most of the other books in this book haul. So I'm hoping that if I'm able to get around to it anytime soon, it'll be, even if it's not something I think is amazing by the end, it's short enough that maybe the sequel kind of plays out what were this book's shortcomings at the end, or maybe I'll love the ending. We'll see. Anyway, that's it for a mini book haul with some shorter books written by authors whose names I can't pronounce. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts were on them. Let me know if you are also wanting to pick any of these up. But anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.